I can't begin to describe how absolutely disgusting this is.
Hey, it's David. It's a brisk morning after having 60-degree weather yesterday. It's 30 degrees again. Who would know? Now, Margaret and I spent most of yesterday finishing up the next section of zip sheathing, pulling the siding off, obviously, pulling out the insulation. Took us about 4 days of work, not only on the outside of the house, but on the inside of the house, trying to get the sheathing off, pulling out some of the insulation, etc. So check out the video. You'll see the update of what's going on. And of course there might be, I don't know, some cute ducks later on too. So check it out, and if you like what you see, if you learn anything from this, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications. We're trying to put videos out every week, and we do hope you enjoy them. Always comment below. We love reading your comments, seeing what's going on your homestead, what you guys are working on, or anything you'd like to see around here. So thanks again for watching. So I should have brought this up earlier, but I forgot. But I just pulled this chunk of OSB off, and you can see all the holes in our insulation from the mice. And this is just one 20-inch section. This is the worst one of all, but you know, they clearly have used this as a raceway. There's droppings everywhere, so I'll need to figure out how they're getting in. There's quite a large gap here, so they filled it with tar and then put tar paper over it. You know, it's one way of doing it, but I'm not sure why there's such a big gap here, but there is.
Because of all the tar and tar paper here on the right hand side, I really can't see where any of the nails are, so I'm having to pry it up and then expose the nails so I can pull them out. Here on the left hand side, I can see some of the nails, although they aren't always easy to get to. The roof overhang and the fascia here is in the way of getting these nails all the way out. So I'm going back and forth between getting this piece of OSB above the window off and the one on the right hand side, just because basically I'm frustrated.
Always one more. There we go.
I can't begin to describe how absolutely disgusting this is. These mice have been in this wall for years, and it is filled full of feces and urine. Some of it is still wet. It smells. I mean, I can't believe we didn't even notice them in this wall, because this is so bad, and clearly it's not old. I mean, the insulation's old, and that the running area has been there for a long time. But, you know, there's evidence that these mice were here recently. And so I just can't believe we didn't hear them in this wall, because our bedroom is right here on this window on the far right.
That's pretty disgusting.
We elected to take all the insulation out of the house simply because we don't know what's behind most of it. Additionally, you can kind of see here there is some plastic, also known as a vapor barrier, that is between the insulation and the drywall. All of that needs to get cut out as well because a vapor barrier shouldn't be there in this climate. You can read more about that kind of stuff. I'll put a description below to some links for using vapor barrier in various climates.
I mean, this is going to get cut, but I'm worried about how far we're going to get before we got a problem with the weather. So what I'm hoping is we can just leave it up and out of the way.
First, where do you want to start with the cutting?
Right here. I have to go that direction.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So. I just don't know if I can do it. If I can get the saw and everything for it well enough. We'll just have to see. But that's so rotted, I'm just worried. This board was bad. This one's bad.
Yeah. Well, we can assume everything under there is.
Which means we may need to cut the drywall all the way across.
Yeah.
But, you know, the idea is, so the way they have this, obviously, they have these two panels. What I'm going to do is we're going to put we'll put a piece up here, cover this, which is easy. And then we're going to we'll put the other stuff long ways. So from here to here is 68 inches. So that, you know, it'll be two pieces basically.
Well, if there's rotten 2x4s under here, we're not anywhere near putting up this, right?
Which is why we might be able to put the top piece up first.
Oh, I see.
And then put plastic down below.
Right.
Because this is not even just over 7 feet.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. I don't know. Perfect.
To give you an idea of what we're dealing with, after we cut that piece off, I can now lift up this piece of flashing and you can see all the rot. So this bottom of the windowsill, the stud, that king stud, looking down, potentially this bottom plate is going to be rotted. And then looking over to the left, you can see there's quite a few ganged up studs here. And this is actually holding up one of the beams that goes across the center of the house, which does hold up part of the roof. So that's why this is so bulky. If I haven't mentioned before, our house was actually built by a structural engineer. So not only do we know that the bones of the house are solid, it was pretty overbuilt. In an ideal world, I would like to get this piece of sheetrock off in one piece and not break it so that I can put it right back in. Unfortunately, back when this house was built, nails were used to install drywall, not screws, so that's kind of a problem. And secondly, most of the nails are kind of rusted into the bottom plate here, not only because of the mice, but also because of the water that was leaking in. So I think I'm going to fail here and ultimately just kind of give up and start tearing it apart because I don't have all day. Typically, when you put up walls with a sheathing on it, when you stand the wall up, your sheathing is going to drop below the bottom plate and then attach, and in this case we're on the second floor, so it's going to attach to the floor joists, which makes it extra strong. Unfortunately for us, that's also impossible for us to get to and remove the lowest part of this OSB. So I'm actually going to go through with a handsaw and I've got to cut along the bottom plate so that we can pull this OSB off, and I can do some repairs if needed to some of this rotted wood, and then it will also allow us to install our new zip sheathing all the way down to the bottom plate. One of the reasons why we aren't able to remove this OSB all the way down and I'm having to cut it is because on the other side of this wall is our solarium, and it has a roof on it, and that roof rafters are right here in between where I'm drilling and where my saw is. So I had to take a measurement to see how long that was and then come up, measure across, and then start my cut again. Good news is we've actually improved this method and we bought a multi-tool so we can actually plunge cut all this stuff instead of having to use a saw to cut it. Well, as I finish pulling out the nails here and cutting off the plastic that is the vapor barrier I mentioned earlier, I just want to go over some of the things that we learned throughout this project. The first thing is, new tools are not necessarily a bad thing. So we bought a couple of new tools, one of which is a Milwaukee multi-tool, so we can plunge cut along this edge. Here you can see the zip sheathing coming down to the old sheathing, and there's a little bit of gap we'll fill with a piece of wood so the mice can't get in. Another thing is to be really careful. You can see here I managed to cut through the wire which was powering everything in our kitchen. Thankfully there is a splice available for that. But in the end, you know, Margaret and I got this done, and we have a lot more to do, but we're getting better at it. So thanks again for watching.